Hi there, it's Nicole, and today I have a card showcasing some great new stamps and dies from the Hero Arts Summer 2016 release. I'm using the color layering Flamingo here and the coordinating die, and I built this fun little beach scene. I find the Misty is the perfect tool for these color layering stamps from Hero Arts. They make it so super easy. I'm going to start with a little bit of soft pink ink. It didn't give a very good first impression, so the great thing about the Misty is it's in the same spot, so I went ahead and simply inked it up my image again for that base layer of the Flamingo and stamped it right over the first image, giving it that really great, very filled in full look. I'm going to line up the next layer, close the cover on the Misty, pick it up, and this one I'm inking up with the Hero Arts Bubblegum ink. For my final layer, again, I'm going to lay it right over the image, making sure it's lined up perfectly. Go ahead and shut my cover of the Misty, pick it up, and for this I am using the Hero Arts Ombre ink in pink to red. And once those dye inks kind of absorb into the paper and dry, it's going to be a beautiful, very, very soft, great look. Sorry I got my head in the way. I went ahead and added the black to the eye and the beak. I just did that with a regular stamp. It's such a small image, I found it kind of hard to line up and get it picked up with my Misty, so I just used a stamp and lined it up, or an acrylic block rather, on my stamp to pick it up and line it up. And then before I stamped the legs, because I made this mistake the first time, I stamped them and thought they looked great and perfect and all lined up, and lo and behold, they were not. So I had to stamp the image again. I went ahead and left the legs off, lined up the die cut the image, and now I'm going to take the Bubblegum Hero Arts ink up the legs from my Flamingo, and stamp those right in place. So just a little tip, you might want to do the same thing if you're going to use the coordinating die with the Flamingo. Now I have a whole bunch of die cut and punched pieces here from watercolor cardstock. I have an oval and then some waves, a little sandy beach, and then I've punched a circle for a sunshine. I'm going to take some distress inks and apply my color to build up this scene for behind my cute little Flamingo. I'm using some squeezed lemonade and the fossilized amber distress inks for my son. I'm also going to take that back layer for the waves, take my pencil and just draw a line so I know where I need to start my color. And I'm going to apply the squeezed lemonade and fossilized amber inks to build up my sky. That is going to kind of remove a little of the pencil line, which actually works out great. I don't have to worry about erasing it or anything like that. So you can see it looks really kind of messy and not really very good. Where those two colors meet, I went back in with my lighter color, the squeezed lemonade, blended those out, and then I want to finish off my sky with a great pop of color. I didn't even go ahead and add more ink to my ink blending tool, my barn door ink blending tool. I went ahead and just took the ink that was already on that foam and applied it to my sky. I'm going to press a little harder now to get a little bit more of that color, but I don't want it to be deep, bright red. In fact, where the red and the yellow mix together, it's really going to give more of an orange look, which is perfect. And then I want it very, very light at the top of the oval. I'm going to go ahead and spritz both of these pieces with a little water from a distress sprayer, blot those dry. Not a ton of water. I went really light. Go ahead and set those to the side while I work on coloring in my two wave borders. I'm using Mermaid Lagoon and Salty Ocean. Again, I'm going to apply the ink to these pieces, spritz them with a little water from the distress sprayer. Very light again. I don't want huge droplets of water or too much distressing, just a little bit to add some interest. And then I can attach those to my card here in a little bit once I have all of the pieces for the background scene put together. Again, I spritzed both of these with water. I'll let that sit for a few seconds, blot that dry, and I'm going to finish with the sandy border that's going to be on the forefront there along the bottom of the oval. As I was working on these pieces, I kind of like to lay them out, see how they're all looking. I'm going to use antique linen distress ink for my sand. Again, I want it really light. I don't want it to be too overpowering, too dark, or anything like that. I'm using a scrap piece of paper to keep my fingers out of the ink as I'm applying the ink to these small pieces. A lot of times you'll get finger mark inks in the distress ink if you're not careful, so I like to use a little scrap piece of paper. Keeps my fingers out of the way, keeps those finger marks out of your project. I did spritz it with just a little bit of water, not a lot. It's definitely very light. You're not going to see a lot of that. Now on that same layer, I want to stamp the puddles of water from the Color Layering Flamingo stamp set. And I'm going to do this with a little bit of my Salty Ocean ink. I just made some marks with my pencil so I knew exactly where I wanted to go. Then I'm going to take a damp, not wet, just a damp paintbrush and color that in to kind of fill in that water puddle so it looks like my flamingo will be standing in a little puddle of water on the beach. I want one more additional little water puddle there on the beach, so I'll take another one of the images from the stamp set. I'm going to ink this one up with Mermaid Lagoon instead of Salty Ocean, stamp it next to it, again take a damp paintbrush and just kind of spread that ink around, blend it out to fill in the little puddle of water. For my greeting, I'm taking the You're Fabulous greeting from the Color Layering Flamingo stamp set, inking it up with a black dye ink, and then I'm going to stamp that right on the sun. Kind of moving everything around. I want to make sure I get it exactly where I want it to go. So things had shifted, so I went ahead and kind of moved them out of the way. Sorry, my head is in the way. I was trying to get that lined up perfectly. I'll stamp that on the sun. I might have to move it over to the right just a tiny bit so everything fits. But there's what my greeting's going to look like. So my greeting is now part of the scene, which I absolutely love. So I'm going to go ahead and attach all of my pieces to this oval scene. Build it up using the background, my sunshine, the back wave border, and then finally the sandy beach scene and the other wave border. Once I have those in place, make sure I got them lined up perfectly. Again, I'm just going to double check that my flamingo is going to fit. I'm going to take a little glossy accents and color over those little puddles of water to really give them that water look. And then I'll set those aside to completely dry. I'm going to use some glue dots to attach my flamingo to my card. Again, just making sure that he doesn't overlap the greeting. And then I've die cut the oval from some black cardstock, and that's going to frame up my cute little flamingo beach scene. I'm going to use some foam adhesive on the back of my black frame. The black frame is simply trimmed about 1/4 of an inch smaller than the front of a card. So it's probably 4 inches by 5¼ inches. It's going to leave a thin white border once you attach it to a white card base. I am using the foam adhesive and I'm having to trim it down because it's a pretty narrow little frame. And I want to make sure that I get the frame pretty well covered. I don't want any areas to dip or have any impressions in them where when it goes through the mail, it doesn't look as nice as it does when it's first finished. I'm going to have some little triangles here in each of the corners. I'll go ahead and peel off the backing paper on everything and attach this right to my card base. Pick up all those little backing pieces. I'll have that attached there, and then I'll take a nice strong adhesive and place that in the center oval. and go ahead and replace that oval in the center of my card with my stamped and inked scene. So go ahead and position that perfectly, and the dimension on the frame will just frame it up beautifully. I'm going to finish with a scattering of some clear little droplets. Give some nice subtle dimension. I'll add about 6 of those throughout my card. I'm using some Zotz Bling glue dots to attach these. They're great, strong little adhesive. They're not a liquid adhesive, so there's no mess, which I absolutely love. Once I have all of those in place, my You're Fabulous color layering flamingo card is all finished. Thanks for joining me for the Hero Arts Summer 2016 Blog Hop card. The supplies I've used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos that incorporate Hero Arts stamps or dies. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping projects. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.